So do you feel that we will be able to sort of, clean our oceans, clean our rivers?
I do believe you should shut the tap before you start mopping the floor. By that I mean the rivers.
Rivers.
Stop it, because the natural flow of water helps you bring it to a location of your choice, and the disposal point is all within road distance.
And so you also mentioned this term while we're talking that ocean energy.
We have made a ocean wave to electricity converter and tested it. We are happy with the result. We are still working further on that.
There's also one more technology is oil spills. So what is that technology and how is oil spill sort of an issue that we should be dealing with?
We made booms that is called a single point inflation. Many other people make that. So from one end you inflate and 200 meters of that boom will inflate in 20 minutes. But you should have that inside. So that's why the ports are required to keep this inventory. It is in our DNA to be a technology leader. We just lost our attitude for the last couple of centuries. We'll get back there very soon. We can show the candle to the world. ISRO is a very good example. ISRO is something that I get inspired by, saying that you think on your feet, find your own solution, find your own approach.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of The AlphaMERS Show. On today's episode, I have with me DC Sekhar sir, someone who I actually said that they are the ISRO for the oceans from India. And they're actually cleaning up the oceans. वो plastics को नहीं enter करने दे रहे oceans के अंदर. They also have developed technologies for oil spills, like cleaning up oil spills. They have technologies for harnessing the ocean energy. So it's a pretty interesting conversation. It's going to really open up your minds on how to be an innovator, how to think through problems. So I genuinely hope you guys like this episode. And please, if you do please hit the subscribe button. And I hope you enjoy the conversation, guys. So, sir, welcome on the AlphaMERS Show. And thank you आने के लिए because I have been seeing your profile बहुत लंबे time से. And actually, I'm sorry कि इतना ज़्यादा time लग गया आपको यहाँ बुलाने में. But I really admire the work you do and the experience you have. तो सबसे पहले सर थोड़ा सा अपने बारे में बताओ कि आप क्या करते हो and what has been your background.
Let me first tell you, Shweta, I've seen your interviews. You are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling me. I was a captain in the Merchant Navy earlier. Somewhere that is my DNA, you can say, the Merchant Navy.
How long?
From 1980 to 2003, I was sailing.
Wow.
Then a couple of years, I was doing some risk management in the same line. And I was in Singapore for a few years. Then I left that. I didn't find it so interesting. I did finance management in Singapore. I'm good with numbers. Then I came back. I did IM Bangalore, executive management. For a while, we did different things. Feasibility studies, techno-commercial feasibility studies. Very interesting. We're doing different things. Everything concerned with the water. And then about 10 years back is when we got into innovation as our strength. We pivoted to developing our own technologies. And we have been riding the wave. Since then, we find that we are good at it. I find that I got always a hydrodynamic software running inside my head. I want to make full use of that.
So, I want to know about the technologies you are building. तो सबसे पहले आप ये बताओ आपने ये बात बोली थी कि मैं innovator हूँ, environmentalist नहीं. What does that mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say environmentalist नहीं हूँ.
You are innovator first. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Perfectly fine. We coined the term assembly lining innovation in our office. Now, assembly lining is everything about repeatability, everything about standardization, and innovation is exactly the opposite. So we found that we are able to take an idea from the mind up to the market or almost up to the market very efficiently. We have it in us to think up a new product, completely new way of approaching a problem and coming up with a practical solution. I always believe paying client is your best critic. He doesn't mince words. And if he thinks you have given him value, then nobody can stop you. So we have made very practical solutions. At the core, we think about his requirements. And we are not limited by what has been done in the other parts of the world. Our approach has always been completely new. Coming to innovation, I think of it as being on the zero of an x-axis. On one side, on the minus side, you have all the experiences, the books you have read, the podcasts you have seen, what you have studied in college. These are all references for the mind. Inside your mind, you have a lot of, it's like a repository, it's like a library of knowledge. A seasoned technocrat who's about to retire has got a tremendous amount of references inside his head. And the plus side, think of it as the imagination, purely what your mind has made it up. I mean, a 10-year-old kid who's a daydreamer will be very good. He can keep dreaming all kind of things. But to be an innovator, you have to be able to flip between these two modes very effectively. Don't think about your references. Don't let that restrict you. Think about completely crazy things. Like when I have to innovate, sometimes I hit a dead end. How to solve this particular problem? A long time back, as an exercise in my office, we discussed saying that, look, kids are falling into the borewell. If I were to make a robot that goes and picks them up, how would I do it? And a human body comes to your mind. Human body is fantastically designed. I mean, the way I can move my fingers in so many different axes to make a robot and then have the sensing, the texture, the temperature. My eyes is giving me input. It's all beautiful. But we thought about this, and then we thought about a giant which has got a very long and very thin hand going all the way. And when you, let us say, touch the baby's head, and then you try to put your hand underneath the baby to lift, you realize how the human body can immediately, on a touch without seeing, can make out you're touching the hair, you're touching the, you so much of information goes between up and down. So we always look at the human body as a fantastically designed machine, and that opens many doors of our thinking. When we wanted to design the robot for petroleum tanks, we have designed robots for petroleum tanks. I'll tell you about it. But when these have got heating coils, many of them have got heating coils about half a meter above the floor. So you have to either crawl underneath or go above that. So the mind has to think of a solution. And when I close my mind, I think of a 6-legged dog or an 8-legged dog, so that the first 2 legs go, then the second 2 legs, it doesn't fall down. Or a centipede, for the matter, that does that very fast. And you're able to walk over the pipes very fast. Can you engineer that? Yes, engineering is work. Innovation is imagination. So if you're able to imagine, if your mind is able to conceive, this is the way it will work, then other things can fall into place.
So, like, when you mentioned this thing, that when I close my mind, like when you said that when the child has fallen into the borewell, या फिर petroleum wala example, even I felt like closing my eyes and imagining कि, क्या solution निकल के आएगा. So that's very impressive. Also, sir, please बताओ कि जो आपने बोला कि petroleum में you had these robots. So please explain this technology and what you've built.
Right. It will be very interesting. You might laugh at it, but 30 years back, 93 and 94, I was myself inside the ship's tanks, and we were cleaning the tank. I was, of course, the officer over there in charge, and there are people working with buckets and pneumatic winches. And that time I thought, look, this is no way to clean tanks. People are going to the moon, and here we are still using buckets and pneumatic winches. I will make a robot one day in case somebody doesn't make.
And so when you say about the petroleum tanks, these are like, what kind of tanks are these?
Oh, these have got crude oil. They've got different grades of crudes and different grades of petroleum.
And where are they placed?
I was on the ship's tanks. Ship's tanks are a little bit more complicated. But the solution that we have made is for this large round refinery tanks. You might see the white cylindrical ones.
Yeah, so the ones that we see on the roads and like on the ships as well that you...
not the petrol pump. The petrol pumps are underground tanks.
No, the ones that we see on the roads that are like taking...
Yeah, refineries.
Yeah. Got
oil companies, yes, correct. For that. The biggest of the oil companies have got this problem of human entry into the tank for certain operations. So they may have billions of dollars on their annual report. But at night, somebody is worrying that there is a human entry there. He has to come out safely because hydrogen sulfide, hydrocarbon, these are all things that can incapacitate a man very fast. So you're always facing those risks. I did that because I thought I had gone into the tanks myself. I said, I have to make a robot. But the time came now. The PSU oil company, Oil India, they told me that, okay, if you're able to make, we'll support you. And we made this robot. So these robots are able to go under the heating coils, very compact. Plus one very important feature compared to its contemporaries from the Western world is that it has a pump on it. Because nature has decided that when you're sucking something, you only have 1 kg pressure to play with between vacuum and the atmospheric pressure. So if you try to suck thick oil through this, it's like trying to eat ice cream with a straw. It will not move through the straw. You need to pump it out. So to pump it out, you need to put a pump on the robot. We've done that. In spite of that, we made it very compact. My brief to my team was that think like a watchmaker, not a wall clock maker. You get a little space, put this here, put that here. that kind of psyche. And we made that, and it's almost ready. We should be launching it in maybe 1 or 2. The regulatory approvals are going on, very stringent standards, which should be very stringent because you're dealing in assets which are very, very expensive, very hazardous. We made another robot to go inside the retail petrol pump tanks. So it will fold its arms, go inside, open the arms, wash it, strip the washings, again fold its arm, comes out. It's not autonomous, controlled from the remote, but this is the capability of that robot. Now, this year in February, we got a Best Startup Award from in one very major event, industry event. Now, the most of the industry, oil industry knows us. They are in touch with us with different kind of robots they require, which all we can make. We can make them because it's a little easier than what we have taken up on first. Believe, we believe, my team, we believe robotics should go where there's a risk of life, like this cases, or go to the depth of the ocean, or go to the space, or go for precision surgery, perhaps, where human hand is not so steady, or this kind of application, mine-sweeping application. You might use robotics to perhaps in a war situation, in a hostage situation. A driverless car can wait in our scheme of things. We believe when we make a robot where the robot can also get my vegetable from the car into my doorstep, then we'll take that seriously. It is not on the top of the list as far as we are concerned. So we find it's very useful to make this kind of robot that helps in saving life.
And you also work towards, I would say, environment on a bigger aspect, and so many different technologies are there. So let's one by one talk about each and every technology that you've built. And
Right.
I know that for some technologies you also have the impact numbers. So let's share that as well, sir.
Right. I think once again, 25 years back, somewhere in Europe, I was standing in front of a canal or a lake, and I was looking at that very clean. The first thought, what does it come to mind? Why can't my country be like this? What is stopping it? And then a realization came to me at that time. Look, don't expect somebody to come and do it. Ordinary people like me and you have to get up and do
Yes.
something about it, and then we can do it. So I had kept that in the back of my head. And 10 years back, we said, okay, let's get down to this business seriously. Now, if we take a piece of plastic in a shop, somebody is eating peanuts, and suppose he throws it away, that is escaping the formal collection system. And the wind will take it somewhere. And maybe the first train will take it towards a drain. And from the drain, it will go to a bigger drain, maybe a stream. It's all a unidimensional journey. It goes into the river, it travels far, and then when it crosses the river mouth, it spreads into a 2-dimensional journey. And then it breaks up into microplastics and goes down to the water column. It's a 3-dimensional spread now. Common sense will dictate that when it's the single dimension, catch it. So we had that option either in the drain or in the river. Grab it. It is the easiest part of it. We always believe in flowing waters, do not spend a drop of fuel to pick up the plastic. The water will bring it to where you want to collect. So you decide where you want to collect, where you have a road connectivity, something like that. So we made this with excellent hydrodynamic. It's a simple looking solution. Many people say that it's very simple. I say it is simple looking, but the hydrodynamics have been thought about very carefully. I'll explain in simple language. When you put something in the water, there's a drag force because you're trying to obstruct the water. So what comes to my mind when I have to put something in the water to withstand those currents is I have to make a mesh, make it stand in the water, let the water go past, and only the wire of the mesh is going to obstruct the water. So I'm reducing the drag force tremendously. So it's able to withstand stronger velocity of water. We made the first one. Since I come from the shipping background, I know about hydrostatics and hydrodynamics. It comes naturally to me. So we designed it, everything around the standing mesh. And we put it, and I think myself and my office staff, both of us went into one lake in Bangalore, and we moved it past in the water. And I knew what I wanted to see, and I was very happy that this is working. Then in Chennai, we did our pilot. In Bangalore, we did a pilot. And first year of the full installation, 22,000 tons of trash was removed from that river. Out of that, 10% is plastics. 2,200 tons, 2,165 tons as per Hindu newspaper, which quoted the urban local body, the Chennai Corporation. It worked very well, obviously. So people ask me how much it can catch. I don't have a figure for how much it can catch. It will catch everything that people throw upstream of that. Now, how much people throw is, it's a very place to place. It varies. Then we said, okay, look, few things we did smartly there is we did not put anything in the middle of the stream. We just put this barrier across and put it diagonally. So whatever hits this, it slides down and comes to that corner. So you pick it up with the river bank based equipment. That makes it much cheaper on a per ton basis. So you have to be standing on the river bank. River bank, you have a lot of vehicles. Unlike sending a boat inside, and that involves costs. This practically put some of these boats out of the contention, because the boats, they are picking up the trash with the conveyor onto itself, coming to the river bank, emptying it. So it requires fuel. Whereas this would do this 24/7, day and night, rain or sunshine, and bring it over there to the corner where you're already ready to pick it up. So morning after breakfast, you can say, go and see how much is collected. If not much, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. It doesn't go anywhere. So then we said, okay, boat traffic has to pass. What do we do? So we split the same barrier into two parts and staggered it. Trash will come straight and get trapped, whereas a boat will zigzag and go past. Now we are talking about removing it with conveyors, which is powered by a turbine placed in the river. So it will make it zero energy until we remove this from the river, from this river, up and put it on a vehicle. We don't get into what happens to that after it is put on a vehicle, taken away for disposal, because the urban local bodies, they take care of it. They have a full-fledged system for disposal. I have a big job to get this out of the river. And after that, people ask me, why don't you make some curios or something with the plastic that you removed? I don't think that is very practical for me, because when you get 2,200 tons of plastic out from a river, you can't make sunglasses. You have to have a big plan to market that. So we are not getting into that. We leave it to the urban local bodies who will take care of it from there on. We have other challenges in that. First, we made it very modular. So you can remove and replace any part in this barrier inside, so that maintenance is much easy. But the thieves also found out equally fast. And suddenly we found that the entire thing is stolen. The entire thing. Those guys are, they work very hard at night, deep at night. Entire thing is stolen. So we had to sacrifice some of the modularity. Now we make it in 6-meter sections and connect it. So if somebody has to steal it, he has to come with a truck and take away a 6-meter section. If he does that, I'll catch him and put in my operations team. Yeah, so that is that part. Then we found that we have got a good answer for the surface trash we're removing. The river starts looking clean. It's not clean fully. The water quality is still very bad. The liquid effluents are still there.
Yes.
But the surface looks clean. Sometimes the photograph looks clean. And I call that the first day of the turnaround journey of the river. It instills a hope. Then we said, okay, now the bottom silt is an issue. What do we do about that? So we made on this.
So explain once to people that why the bottom silt is an issue.
Right. The silt that passes from upstream,
yes,
from the mountains, it comes, and then the rocks, that is, it's all slowly eroding and the silt keeps traveling down. Actually, if you marine ecologists or some of those people who tell you it's very necessary. Silt transport is necessary because that's the way life sustains.
True.
But for developmental projects, or for the matter, a dam reservoir on the way, it is silting up. It's filling up. A port, one of the biggest operational costs is silt. The silt comes there, and then it reduces the depth of water available for the ships to come. So it's a major operational cost for them to dredge it out.
And even flooding also, like in a lot of places, like it also leads to flooding, because when the silt deposits are higher, so the water would obviously,
yes,
move into the nearby areas and stuff.
Definitely, it changes the path of a river many places, the silting. The drains also get a lot of silt which passes, and then they have to keep cleaning it up. Stormwater drains, all of that. So we made a passive device. When we start this, we think, okay, look, it has to be energy efficient. And what can be more energy efficient than taking the entire energy from this water? And we have not piloted this, but in the lab level, we have managed to make a design that traps the silt beautifully. And from the other end, we are able to remove the silt with Archimedean screws and certain conveyors to the road level. That requires a little bit of fuel.
Yes.
But once you remove it to the road level, you can send it away to some landfill or do whatever you can. It's prevents the silt from moving past. You can extend the life of a dam reservoir. Of course, I'm talking about stage 5. At the moment, we will be starting with smaller drains, but the principle will remain same as we make it bigger and bigger. We are able to trap it passively using just the flow of water and then remove it to the road level, and from there, take it away. When you do these two, you have effectively dealt with the surface trash and the bottom silt. Now comes the water quality. Now, water quality is something I believe that is best dealt at source. The sewage and septage that gets into this, you should deal with it at source, because aerating this or putting something, coagulants or anything like this, it involves a continuous operating cost. So that's a reactive measure. So at some point of time, I'm sure we'll be able to deal with it at source with STPs and ETPs and not let this come into the water. And then we will be having a good quality of water. I hope I seriously hope in 10 years time we clean up most of the water bodies in India. It doesn't have to be me. I mean, I'm just say one example. There would be other people with better technologies whom people start hearing and listening to, and it can spread very fast. It can happen very fast. One big real estate tycoon has to see that, look, I've cleaned up this water body, and suddenly the real estate price has gone up a little bit, and I'm sure it will spread very fast.
But you believe that it is possible, like, because we often hear everywhere ki oceans mein itna plastic hai, and like it is the reality. So do you feel that we will be able to sort of clean our oceans, clean our rivers? When I talk at the world scale, the entire globe.
I do believe you should shut the taps before you start mopping the floor. By that I mean the rivers.
The rivers.
Stop it, because the natural flow of water helps you bring it to a location of your choice, and the disposal point is all within road distances. It makes it convenient to do it in the river. Once it crosses the river mouth and goes into the sea, it's a two-dimensional spread. Distances are large.
Yes.
And the bang for bucks is very, very less. Once you shut off these streams, the whatever plastic is going from the rivers, then you have the bandwidth to do more. You can go into the sea. We have a plan to start on the coast next year, but we are depending on our ocean wave energy harvesters and deep sea anchoring, certain technologies that we are developing ourselves to do that, because we believe that we are not going to go into the ocean with two large boats guzzling fuel. It doesn't make sense. If you compare the river and the sea, the rivers have currents and rivers don't have waves. When you step into the sea, they have large waves, or they can have large waves in monsoon. They have very less currents normally. So you need to have a relative motion with the water. Either you are stopped and the water goes past, or water is stopped and you are moving. So either way, you're sieving actually, and you have to move a sieve slowly through the water. Various ways you can do that using wind energy, sails. You can do deep sea anchoring at a depth, so that wherever there's little littoral currents, you will be able to trap it. Now you have to account for the fact that this trash has to come up to disposal point. Are you burning far more fuel to get this? So you have to depend on renewable energy and some of these techniques. Otherwise, I will not consider it a smart solution. It is basically for the oomph value. You go out to the sea and burn a lot of fuel. I think that's not a very smart way to do. But whatever is going on today is a problem for the next generation. It's going to break up, go to the seabed. Now we have the plastic found in Mariana Trench. That's the deepest one in the Himalayas. And, it is spreading. So we have to control it somewhere. Source control is perhaps the cheaper. Let's see.
And so, like, you also mentioned this term, like, while we're talking that ocean energy. So what are your thoughts on it? Do you feel that going forward, or even today, that ocean energy ka bahut acha potential hai? And are we like sort of building on that? And what are your views on it?
Ocean energy is, according to me, the single biggest factor that will take you towards all our SDG goals. It's a very untapped area. Ocean has got waves. Waves have got huge power. I mean, been on the ship in the middle of the ocean so many times. The waves can bend a steel pipe. That's the kind of energy it has. But certain projects have been done around the world, which a couple of them have succeeded technically. Practically, all of them have not succeeded financially. The reason is many of these first trials, first initiatives come from the Western world, and too often they are too overcapitalized, according to me. You should be having a tighter control on the capital budget. It can be done. And that is the single biggest weakness, because the cost of capital becomes so much. You're taking the fizz out of the renewable energy. If you have to spend 100 rupees per unit, you will just clap your hands for the renewable and walk off. You will not subscribe to it. So it has to be a little rational. So ocean energy, our strength is we have made a ocean wave to electricity converter and tested it. We are happy with the result. We are still working further on that. All these ocean wave energy converters, most of them, practically all of them that I have seen, either will pump fluid or rotate a shaft. So we managed to rotate a shaft at a low RPM, and you can convert. Once your shaft starts rotating with a certain torque, you can harness energy. It's a usable form. Rest is known science. So that first step is the new one. So we did that, and then we are now making a floating model of the same thing. Because if you have in the first model we had a seabed unit, so you have to take a floating crane, put it out there, all those costs and things like that involved. With a floating model, you can assemble it on the jetty, put it in the water, tow it to the site, maybe even by a fishing boat, and anchor it, connect it to a sinker over there, and do that. Then we went on to design a wave-powered boat. Now, when you're on a roller coaster, you're sitting on a roller coaster, you're going up and down a roller coaster. Your stomach is following your body. Your body goes up first. That's why you have the nausea feeling and stuff like that. So if you think about the stomach as the inner hull of a boat and the body as the outer hull, loosely connected, there is always a relative motion when it is in the seaway, when it's jumping up and down continuously. And that relative motion, that annular space between them, that is what we have utilized to harness that energy. Yeah, it's not prototyped yet, but I have a great belief in that idea. At some point of time, let us see, it can help in logistics cost, but it's too early stage now to predict that far ahead. As of now, it is being planned as a remote controlled unmanned craft with a payload, maybe for weather sensing, security surveillance, and those kind of applications, with about a 1 ton payload. I have a great belief in ocean energy. Unfortunately, what happens is when you talk to people, they say, oh, tidal has been tried, it hasn't succeeded. This has been tried. I feel some of these people, good, they did not advise Wright brothers who flew the aircraft, because they would have told him, look, the aircraft will fall, it will not going to fly. Don't try. But every human being approaches the same subject differently.
That's true.
Some point of time, somebody is going to succeed. The energy is out there. I believe if I don't do it or my generation doesn't do it, my next generation will be smart enough to do it, because the energy is there. We have the basic raw material is there. Only how to harness it is the question.
And I think it will be very interesting to see, because we have seen, the geopolitics around fossils and now renewables, where every country is sort of, ramping up their capacity and everything, and now coming to ocean. So probably the countries, who have access to oceans would be the ones sort of who can sort of take the ace and can sort of move forward faster.
Yes, it's my belief that the mineral and the oil resources are not very equitably distributed in the world, but the human brain is very equitably distributed around the world, and we can do a lot. We have a large coast, and we'll find our own solutions. We can think on our feet, we can imagine very well. Our astronomy, I may not be an expert on that, but I know that millenniums before we got the astronomy right, and without any telescopes and stuff like that. So it is in our DNA to be a technology leader. We just lost our attitude for the last couple of centuries. We'll get back there very soon. We can show the candle to the world. ISRO is a very good example. ISRO is something that I get inspired by, saying that you think on your feet, find your own solution, find your own approach. And human mind is a fantastic design machine. The computer doesn't design. I often tell people who are interning with me, you shut the computer and open your mind. Start thinking. Because the way the mind connects all these various factors, real time, it is amazing.
So we talked about these technologies. Also, one more technology is oil spills. So what is that technology, and how is oil spill sort of an issue that we should be dealing with? And what is an oil spill to start with, sabse pehle, for people who don't know?
See, we have a large oil industry, and you're handling oil from a ship, from a coastal terminal. I'm talking marine oil spill because that spreads more. So marine terminal or a ship, you can have an accident. There are a lot of safety systems are built in. You have double hull ships, all those things are there. But still you can have an oil spill, overflows, these kind of things. And oil spreads a lot. And once it spreads, it goes for miles. If it is going towards the sea, it's a different issue. But if it is coming towards the coast, it could go into high value sensitive place like a beach or a mangrove, and it can cause quite a disruption for a lot of time. So there are measures to prevent that from happening. SOPs, design features, all of that is there. But still, it can happen. And when that happens, your first priority is to contain it. There are floating booms that are used to contain it. And we made booms that is called a single point inflation. Many other people make that. So from one end you inflate and 200 meters or that boom will inflate in 20 minutes. But you should have that inside. So that's why the ports are required to keep this inventory of these booms. Then you put floating skimmers and remove that oil. Not very easy. It's a little tricky because this oil in a little period of time, it becomes like grease and mousse. And then the pumps do not handle these things very well. So you have to pick it up as soon as possible. Then they use dispersants to disperse it. The oil is not gone anywhere. It is just broken up, gone to the bed. So it's a question of priorities at that time. Oil is already in the water and you have a certain amount of resource. Where do you deploy to protect the most critical assets? You cannot really contain the whole thing. It's not very easy. No country in the world. US is very good prepared, but even the deep water horizon, they also could not handle a lot of it. It is a problem that we deal with. So we have made a different kind of equipment for currents. Yes, this boom has got the weakness, unlike the trash boom I was talking about. It's a solid fabric. You need a solid fabric for containing oil. You cannot put a mesh there. And that solid fabric cannot move through the water fast. It is very slow because it's a solid hanging fabric. So we have made a different design that can go faster, and then you have a skimmer that oily water keeps entering into that, and then online it is decanted and sent out. Few other people, maybe another 4 people in the world, perhaps are doing something similar. Our design approach is totally different. We got excellent results, and we are coincidentally cheaper. My first line is we are better, and the second line is okay, we are also cheaper. That's okay. We have done that. This is not a revenue equipment. When you put the oil spill response, it's emergency response equipment. It has to give very good bang for bucks for the people who own it. Should not occupy much space. And in emergency, it should give you maximum versatility. So normally the hub and spoke models work, where immediate response, you have resources locally. And then you are able to collect resources from other places and bring it within 24 hours, 48 hours, and things like that. I'm also the India representative on the Council of International Spill Control Organization. It's an international think tank with about 45 country membership. So we do a lot of exchanging thoughts in these subjects. Underwater spill, still we have not started thinking about it. We have to have, because a lot of time this oil goes down when you put the dispersants and things like that. And sometimes they'll travel like a cloud. We have not got there yet. We are still dealing with the surface.
Well, that's really, sort of amazing that how you sort of, thought through all these innovations, these technologies, and sort of capturing, say, the oil, the oil spills, the plastic, and among so many other things that you're doing. So I would now like to sort of move towards your experience that you have had at sea and, all the things that you've gained there. So, sir, firstly, I know you've shared this example with me, but please share the moon example and why is it relevant for people?
Every time I have somebody new in the company and we are brainstorming about a certain solution, our principle is bottom up. Think of the simplest one first. And sometimes the new guy is surprised, saying that if it is so simple, somebody would have thought about it before. I can't see it in any magazine anywhere. The net, I cannot see somebody has done this particular solution in this way. No, sir, if it is so simple, somebody would have done it. And I cite this example. When I was on the ship 25 years back, standing on the bridge wing, normally as a captain, you have time on hand, quite often in the open sea passage. And I was looking at the sky and I was looking at the crescent of the moon. And suddenly it struck me that, look, the crescent of the moon is pointing to the sun at all time. Now, when you look at the crescent of the moon, you think about the moon. It's not shaped like a crescent, it's a ball. And the ball has been lit by a torch from one side. That is why the crescent is in that position. That torch is the sun. That is below the horizon. But you know where below the horizon it is. So if you see that at evening 7 o'clock, you look at the crescent and you see which side is lit up, and you know where is you just draw a line and you know where is the sun. And you know that is the west. If it is evening, if it is 5 o'clock in the morning, that is the east. Sun is going to come up from there. Actually, I did not tell anybody on the ship for 2 days because I thought I must have got it wrong. Such a simple thing to understand. Why it is not written in any book. It's not written in any book. I must have told thousands of people this, but not one person told me has read in any book. It's ironic. So I tell my people in the office, look, something so obvious has been missed by people. It's just adding 2 and 2. Yes, so easy to understand. So don't, until you find that somebody has done it, don't assume that somebody would have done it. Maybe people are wired to think complicated, not so simple. So look at the simple solution and go up. We don't put autonomous feature unless it is required. We do not put sensors until it's required, until it makes sense. I've had calls, people from Europe calling me and say, we can help you with AI on your trash barriers. It will tell you where the trash is. I said, look, it doesn't make sense. Whatever trash is there will come and stop right here. You tell me a purpose for that AI. It's a good tool. I'm not saying no. Machine learning, AI, they are good tools. But today they are installed for oomph value and funding perhaps. Everywhere it's not relevant. And you have to see the relevance of that before you go in.
I think that's really interesting because sometimes we also find ourselves stuck कि simple है तो क्या ये एक अच्छा idea है, but what you shared is just so relevant. Also, sir, like, do you have any sort of, memories or any sort of learnings from your time at the ocean where you learned something? Or any particular experiences, like, because you have traveled so much,
Yes.
any particular things that you remember from your time?
See, when you're in the merchant navy, you're going to different countries. You're constantly comparing yourself with them. Constantly comparing. I came to Calcutta for something in, I think it was 85. The first metro was being done in Calcutta. And roads were dug up. It was a little bit of a mess. But when you go down to the metro station, it's spotless. And I have seen ordinary man pick up a piece of paper and put it in the dustbin. And that left a very lasting impression on me, saying that not being clean is not in our DNA. You have to give a man hope, a good start and hope. And he starts getting used to that, and that he starts getting conditioned to that. And if we clean up this mess around us and give a fair chance with infrastructure, people will fall into line very fast. They don't go and litter a star hotel lobby. But when they go outside, if they find a pile of trash, they might throw a piece of paper. Myself, my wife, we went out for the neighborhood cleanup, Swachh Bharat kind of thing with our few friends. Many well-meaning people. They would stop their scooter or car and they will shake their head saying, you're very nice people, but it's no use in India. People are not disciplined. It will not get messed up. So we used to tell them, look, hang on. Here is a pair of gloves. You park your car on the side. Join us. Something I saw and learned at that time, if a person puts his on the gloves, initially is hesitant to put his hand in the trash. He feels bad. But once he puts his hand in the trash, after some time, he is no more shocked by that and he gets this place cleaned up. And at that moment, if somebody comes and throws a packet, he is going to abuse him like hell and be very upset. But if you don't put your hand into that, don't clean it up yourself, somebody is throwing. I've seen them standing there and just shaking their head. Oh, this will never improve. If you put your hand into it, you take ownership, you will scream at that guy. And that's how you change the culture of the place.
No, that is interesting, like, because I spoke with someone, so he mentioned this thing that when you actually go out and pick trash, like, you have to bend so many times. So that's when you also learn, it's it is painful. Like, like, yes, you're doing good work, but bending every time, picking things. So somewhere it does something to your emotion, and then next time you're not the same person ever again. And you won't throw the trash, and even you would react when you see people do the same because you have underwent that journey of picking things up and making the place clean. So that's there. Also, sir, like, do you have any sort of, thoughts on, like, we are seeing that with polar ice melting, a lot of shipping routes are being opened up For example, even the Arctic, we saw that some routes were opened up. What are your views on it?
I feel it's unfortunate. One thing, of course, logistically, we may not have many routes, which is navigable through those waters, connecting those waters. So people will prefer the warmer waters, which is open throughout the year. And there are icebreakers. There are some of the ships going through these places, but I think they'll be few and far between, and it's not going to be a huge game changer. I think the regular routes, what we have in the shipping, they will continue to remain. Of course, Asia, the trade will come more towards Asia. That is a logical thing, the way the world is going. I'm hoping though, not much of the ice melts anyway. Of course, I don't think that's going to open up a route which is suddenly very lucrative to go through the ice.
So, sir, if you like don't mind sharing, a lot of times people feel that okay, we have an innovation and we know this innovation can sort of solve things. So, how do you sort of navigate, or how did you navigate your financing pathway? Like, because I know you're collaborating with governments, industries. So, what is that pathway that you navigate, like the finances part of the innovation?
Ironically, when you start off like everyone, I was having a very nice job in Singapore, and which I left because I found it boring and I came back. When you come and start something, you always think that you're going to be sitting in the conference table and people are going to do presentations to you and you're going to pick the best idea, and that's what you think. But when it comes to the reality, every small problem, including the cable in the computer is not connecting, it comes to your table. When you're running a business, all this will come to your table. So the amount of energy required for an entrepreneur is tremendous. His day starts at morning 5:30 probably and ends at 10 o'clock looking at the messages. Depends upon which sector you serve to. If you are almost in the same sector where you were working, you have certain factors of that in your comfort level. You know how it works. And certain things are new. Even all of them don't necessarily succeed. Some of them do. But we picked up an area which is completely different, except for this. My intuitive understanding of the sea and currents was there. But otherwise, dealing with the government was not something I had done before. Managing cash flows and all that. Very interestingly, when I started this, at the same time I went to IM to do that executive general management 1-year program. And it is so relaxing to sit in the classroom of IM Bangalore and discuss somebody else's problem. You can be so relaxed and objective and incisive about it, know exactly what is to be done. When the rest of the 6 days of the week, I was managing my own problems. And that used to be frustrating because money never comes on time, but it has to be paid on time. And you have all kind of issues. That's why I believe entrepreneurs require tremendous amount of energy. They need a sense of purpose. I'm doing this for this. For me, it was to show the world that we can solve our own problems so well, so cost effectively. That was the guiding thought. That was the innovation was my driving force. The entrepreneurship is a baggage that I carry along with that. I have to manage compliances. I have to manage all those things. I would have wished that I simply sit here, design, make, prove, and then sell it to somebody. If we had a market to sell IPRs, I would have happily sat down and done that. But the system expects you to sell yourself and manage your cash flows, do everything around it. If you're a chartered accountant, I may not ask you, can you try your hand at designing this machine? It is not expected out of you. But if I'm a startup who has a technical idea, a lot of people want to teach me finance for non-finance people. A lot of people want to teach me a little bit of legal knowledge, everything. I am expected to handle everything, juggle all the ball in the air, which I feel is sometimes a little taxing for an entrepreneur. Because I want to spend 90% of my time thinking about new technology that I can solve problems. I have a lot of such problems I can solve. But trust me, 20% of my time may be going maximum towards that. Rest of it, I'm worrying about the payments. I'm worrying about so many other issues that happen, especially when you're dealing with the government. Government is a huge, big client. And but there's too much of checks and balances. Cash flow cycles are long. They never deny anybody's payment. That way they're good. But the cash flow cycles are long. So you have those challenges to deal with. The energy required is very much. I always advise, take some co-founders with you. I didn't do that because you may have an employee who will do his best. He will come and tell me, I tried this, I did this. I've hit a dead end now. But if you have a co-founder, at 10 o'clock at night, if you tell him this is a problem, otherwise we are going to be losing this, he will, even if he is not from the domain, he will burn the midnight oil, talk to 10 people, try to understand the subject, and he will do it, because the drive of a co-founder is very different from an employee. He may be a good employee, but he has his limit.
That's definitely there. And with all this, like, you have built a successful company. And I would say that we talk about ISRO, but I think what you're building is the ISRO for India in the water space, in the ocean space. Like, you're solving so many different aspects of it, from pollution to oil spills to even, harnessing the ocean energy. So thank you for doing this, and thank you so much for being with us here today. So, like, it genuinely means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. My message would be to the younger generation that we can solve our problems right here in India. We are very capable minds.
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead. We are a little weak in taking risks. We are a little weak in putting money where the mouth is. The day we decide to put the money, when, a lot of us sit and discuss, everybody has ideas. But you may not find anybody getting up and saying, okay, I'm going to fund my own idea and then prove it. The day we start doing that, we will find that we have a lot of power within us. I believe I have the same brain as all my friends, but I was one of those guys who went out and said, look, I'm going to show that this works. And we are here. We have cleaned few rivers and we have done such a lot of impact. And I think that potential is in everyone. And that is my message to the younger generation. Go ahead. You can solve a lot of problems. We Indians have got a very good mind to solve our problems. I want them to feel confident. Thank you.
And I think they will feel confident, like, I also wish that people just marry their aspiration with, like, gain some skills, knowledge, and sort of build something impactful from India for the world, like, as we say. But thank you so much for being with us here today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.